Oh, we're live. All right. Hello, everybody. Back again. Pocket Pete here. We're with Joanne Mayo. She's a school teacher. She's a mom of 3, and she's part of our pandemic. Of course, you know me. I'm Pocket Pete. Used to sell houses. Now I think I'm Walter Cronkite and trying to bring some positivity and some interesting people to your lives. So, hello, Joanne.
Hello, Pete.
How are you?
I'm great. How about you?
Good. So, talk to me about you're a school teacher. Are we saying where you're a school teacher? Maybe not. Let's not say where you're a school teacher. But your school. What grades do you teach?
I teach 8th grade.
Okay, so that's an interesting age for this. I'm assuming. When did your school get shut down? When was that?
Our last day of school was March 13th.
Okay, and can you talk about like what that felt like? Like, what was the discussion about? Like, how are you going to handle sending kids home? Like, you sort of knew. Like, did you know at the time like it was going to probably go through this period? And it really feels to me like it's going the whole year. Does it feel like that to you?
Some days it's a really strange world when kids can't go to school.
Yeah.
It's a sad world, I think, when kids are being told you're not allowed to go to school. And on March 13th, which was a Friday, we were still in session, and my classes were probably half empty at that point. Whether it was due to kids who were sick for various reasons, or parents were just super concerned at that point and didn't feel that sending the kids out in public was a great idea anymore. And then we found out on Sunday the 15th that we weren't going to be returning for 2 weeks. And it was a strange feeling. We got to go in that first Monday, just the teachers, to gather up our belongings. It was a really weird feeling. And, it was one of those things like, okay, it's going to be 2 weeks. It's only going to be 2 weeks. There's no way they'll keep us out of school for longer than 2 weeks. And here we are. Still out of school.
You guys had hope at the time, and you really felt like it was.
We did. We felt like there were whispers. We were told in advance to prepare for being out for 2 weeks just in case. So we did have online lessons ready to go. But it was one of those things like every day you woke up, it was like waiting for a snow day. You would wake up the next day and be like, all right, well, we're still going to school. Right. And it was like that for about a week, I would say. And then it turned into, no, there's no way they're going to ever close school. That would be crazy. And they did. And it's still crazy.
What was that week like for you at home? Because your kids are home too. How do you address that with them?
So my kids go to Connecticut, and Connecticut decided to use their spring break that first week off.
Mm-hmm.
So
you guys didn't? Your school didn't?
No, we started that Monday. We started with online. Well, no, Monday the teachers went into the building to gather our stuff. Tuesday we started with the online learning. So my kids didn't have any work to do yet. There was no set schedule. They were kind of on vacation, but we were still trying to get them into some kind of routine, knowing that we would have to eventually become their teachers. Every day, I kind of feel now like I have a little bit of a handle on things. But I said many times that first week that I just don't know how people are going to be able to do this. I'm in a situation where I am a teacher. Not that I know how to teach kindergarten, which my daughter is in, and not that I know how to teach first grade that my son is in, but my older daughter's in 6th grade. I figured, I can feel my way around that. But I was having issues and feeling overwhelmed, and I couldn't imagine how other parents were feeling with more than 3 kids and less technology than we have available to us. It was an overwhelming feeling, to say the least.
So it was a feeling of empathy, or like a feeling of stress. Like were you feeling like you were feeling a lot of empathy for people that?
More empathy. I can't say, and I've been very, very, very fortunate during this whole situation. Knock on wood, and stress is not something that I've had to feel. And I know that I'm incredibly fortunate for that. Overwhelmed at times a little bit, but nothing in comparison to what other people have felt. through this whole thing so far, what I've really felt is fortunate because I do still have my job. It's much different than the job I signed up for. It's certainly not working the way that it's worked for the last 19 years, but it's working as best as I can make it work. But it's overwhelming.
Yeah, and I can't imagine, like, if you have two parents that are considered essential and going to work. Like, do you have kids that have, and do you know the jobs of the parents mostly, and like the dynamic there? Because I'm sure you have some kids that have both parents at home, and maybe if they're a single, they have one kid and they're able to like focus on that one kid, and then that kid might be doing great, and then they have someone with 3 kids and both parents are working.
Right.
Like, how do you balance that, and how much of a burden is that on you to kind of help, like, pick up the slack from one person that has that luck, and the other person that has that bad luck?
Right. And in the middle school, you teach 150-ish kids, give or take. So there really is no way of knowing everybody's life. Your kids well enough in March to know, who might live with both parents, who lives with one parent, who lives with grandma, etc. But because of what's going on in our world right now, that's not what was true yesterday for them isn't necessarily true today for them. And that's something that I have to keep in mind every single day. The person who came to school every day with a smile and always had their work done might be going through a really tough time right now. So my expectations for that person or for any of my students can't be the same expectations that I had for them when we were in the classroom together and everybody's lives were more under control and I had more control over what they were doing. So it's definitely tough. And, I get emails every day that run the full gamut of, you're doing a great job, thank you so much, to how dare you expect my child to do work, and you are certainly not a priority in my life right now, and neither is schoolwork. And I understand that. And I've had to learn not to take those emails personally, but to take the thank you so much, you're doing a great job.
Good. Well done. Yeah. So, like, and what is going to happen? Is there any talk about, like, the kids that, and I'm sure a lot of kids are not gonna, like, they're not getting the education that they would have gotten.
No.
So what happens when they go to school next year?
Right.
Like, has there been any talk about a plan about we're gonna have a generation of, like, this mismatch of kids? Do we leave them back? Even though it's no fault of their own, is that gonna, like, what, so there's gonna be a lot of weird dynamics to deal with, right?
I honestly, a couple of things. First, there's no way I cannot recreate what I do in the classroom in person via technology. And whether that's my own deficit or because I'm not technologically advanced, I've learned a lot over the last couple of weeks. I've sat in a lot of virtual PD sessions to learn a lot about the technology. But what I do in the classroom and what I can do in person, I don't feel like it should be able to be replicated via technology, because you're really taking the personal part out of it. Right. As great as technology is nowadays, not all kids have access to the technology. So it's not doable to make it the same experience. Because all of the teachers are dealing with children that have different issues and the teachers have different issues, there's no way that all of the kids are going to come out of this on the same page as they would if they were all in the classroom with the teachers. So the beginning of next year, because I would be surprised if we wound up back this year. We haven't been told, we know as much as the public knows. We don't have any inside information. Mm-hmm. As of right now, school is supposed to be opening on April 30th. I honestly don't think that's going to happen because schools are a breeding ground for germs, there's tons of people.
Yeah. I'm of the mind that they're going to do it in the reverse of the way they start canceling things. Like, because, these schools are the government mandated germ, sharing places. So, like, that's probably going to be the last place that they send people. And all the other places are going to be like the willing germ sharing place.
That's how I feel. Not the mandated germ sharing.
Right.
So it's your own risk.
Right.
It's almost better that way, because if they do open schools and parents aren't ready for that and don't feel that it's safe, then I'm still going to have a half empty classroom.
Right.
So it's not really going to do anything to benefit anybody to have half the kids there.
And then what would you even do? Because you'd have to spend probably a month assessing who who learned the information and who didn't. And
September, yeah.
So that, I mean, that's scary. So like you almost want to like start fresh.
Yes.
In the beginning of the year, right?
Absolutely. And I'm a firm believer and you can't hold any of this against the kids. You know, unless you can prove that a child is willingly doing nothing, that they have everything available to them, but they're deciding that they're just not going to do it, then how do you leave a child who's not doing anything back because they didn't have technology?
Right.
So as of right now, we're grading everything, almost like placeholders to see what happens. It will probably wind up being pass-fail in the end, which I think is a pretty fair gauge. And then the district is already investigating who's not doing work and why, and making phone calls home to find out, what the situation is and how the school can help, and kind of just take it from there. But this is definitely going to roll over into next year in terms of deficiencies in learning. But what's important for parents to remember is that the entire world is in this situation right now.
Right.
So, my kids are younger, so this certainly isn't going to affect their college application in any sense. But even the older kids, the ones who will be applying to college next year, the entire junior class is going through this right now. So in the entire country, in most of the world. So that whole pool of applicants is going to have the same issues. So colleges will obviously understand that. They were the first ones to shut down more colleges. So they know what's going on. They know what they're going to have to look for. And it won't be held against the kids.
Right. Well, should a kid be left back, even though it's no fault of his own? Or how far through the school year were we? I don't even know.
Right.
Were we halfway? Were we three-quarter?
We were 3/4.
Okay.
We had 1 week left in the third marking period.
Okay.
Meaning some schools had 2 weeks left in the third marking period. But at that point in the year, you have plenty of information as to whether or not the student has the ability to move on to the next level.
Right. Are you seeing market differences from the students in the classroom, that there's differences in how they're either like doing the work or doing like that? How do I put this? Are some students not performing at the level that they were when they were in the classroom with you? Or the reverse? Is the reverse happening?
Yes. I was going to say in both aspects. I have students who were awesome, who are still awesome people, but for whatever's going on in their world, they're just not able to produce right now. And then I have students who haven't done a single thing all year, all of a sudden turning in work. And there's plenty of, well, maybe they're not the ones doing the work, but I can tell by the little I don't knows that they're writing in certain areas and the way that they're writing it, that it's them doing the work. So
that's encouraging.
It is. And there's no, I don't know if it's because you don't have to get out of bed at 6 a.m. You can roll out at 1 o'clock in the afternoon and do your work then, or if they're in the comfort of their own home, if they're bored to tears and just figured schoolwork
is better than whatever else is going on. That's quite a pandemic.
Yes.
So that's interesting. So maybe there's a study to be learned here about how, some kids, because I was a terrible student. I graduated high school. I was wearing my gown when I handed in the final paper that would have gotten me through. And I watched the teacher grade it in front of me, not knowing if I was going to be able to use the gown. So, yeah. So I learned differently than maybe how the school was, and maybe we can learn a little bit about that, and maybe that could be the silver lining of a lot of this is those kids.
Right. And, there's some classes that I co-teach. There's other teachers, whether, they're the special ed teacher in the room or the ENL teacher in the room. And, I keep saying to them, let's look at this list of kids who handed this in. We haven't seen anything from them all year. this is, it's amazing. And I almost wish I can say like, okay, if school goes back, you guys stay home. Keep doing what you're doing virtually because that's working for you.
Right.
And the rest of you, come on in and go back to your routine. It's strange.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, those kids might be like, because I'm an ADHD kid. I'm like if I lose my attention, and then I've always said like video games made me really good at life because you fail, you go back to the beginning and you learn. But school sort of like the class sort of passes you by. Like if you miss something, you're forced to go on to the next thing.
Right.
And I can't start back at the beginning of the level.
Right.
And go again. So like maybe there's something to that. They can sit there back and look again and rewatch something.
Right. Right. They're doing it at their own pace. That could be it. For sure.
Yeah.
And I'm also
tell me about your kids.
Oh, my own kids?
Yeah, like how is it teaching them as a teacher and like I don't know if you saw a video I tried training my daughter and it doesn't go well. So tell me about being a teacher and then trying to teach your own kids and trying to like play that role.
So I don't think parents should ever be their kids' teachers, myself included.
Okay.
Because it's really difficult. And it's difficult for the kids too. Your mom, your dad, they don't want you to be their teacher. My kids loved their teachers this year, all 3 of my kids. So it's really heartbreaking for me. I feel like they're being robbed of the experience of having these teachers for the full year, which is the hardest part for me to deal with. Because I am not as good of a teacher as those teachers. I'm not the kindergarten teacher that Dalen left. I don't know how to teach Dalen how to read. Some days it's not so pretty. We're trying and we're trying, but I don't know how to do that. And I'm an English teacher and I don't know how to do that.
Is there it sounds like there's like just a skill set difference because but also like, is there this is my mom issue too? Like when you're telling him to do something and is that become an issue?
It does. It does. And I have to say, we're lucky. They have been very, very, very good. It was rough in the beginning, but they've gotten better. I can tell it's gotten better because the time it takes us to accomplish the work has basically been chopped in half. So we're getting there.
Cool.
We're getting the work accomplished. So it's good. But they don't want to hear from us. They want that other person, telling them, and Dominic's teacher is so cute. She sends him, messages every day. Remember, I'm proud of you. Remember how much I care about you. I know you can do this. Like, she is just the cutest thing ever. And I'm so sad that I feel bad for him. I feel like he has the bad end of the deal having me as his first grade teacher for the rest of the year. She was doing a way better job.
Can you teach them all at the same time?
Oh, no.
So is your whole day teaching them and trying to teach the world? Like
no.
What?
So yes and no. Everybody's lined up. Like I said, we're fortunate. We have the technology for each child and for Dave and me. So we all have our own Chromebook set up and we're working. But they all have to get different attention at different times. Like they're pretty good now. Like their math program is online. So one of them could be doing their math program when the other one's writing. And, you could sit there with the person who needs the help writing when the math program's kind of taking over and doing the math teaching for you. And then you flip, the other person does their math program and then you go and do the writing with the other child. And it's a lot of back and forth. And even Daniela, I teach 8th grade. Daniela's in 6th grade. And it's a weird age because they're almost old enough where they should be independent, but they're still young enough that you have to make sure that they're doing what they're supposed to be doing, especially with this online learning that nobody knows anything about. So it's a lot of taking turns and like, okay, right now everybody go read something so that mommy can get some work done. And we're adjusting. We do have a nice routine now where we are in the groove, phys ed class. They have phys ed work every day. We go outside. We've been really lucky with the weather. We've been outside. They ride their bikes. They ride their skateboards. their art class, they have art homework that they have to do. We've been drawing with chalk on the driveway and in the street. So that's been their artwork. Like, we've been creative. As much outside stuff as we can get done, we do it outside.
Is there any advice you can give to parents as it, like, because you're actually learning how to be a teacher and a parent, you know, like, is there any skill sets of being a teacher that you can teach and you could tell us in 2 minutes on what would help them help their family?
I honestly think that, and I've been saying this since the beginning, I'm way more concerned with mental health than I am with the academics.
Yeah.
Especially when these kids are not seeing their friends regularly, when they're not going to school to see the teachers that they love, when their whole world has changed for any age. And I think that if the child's getting overwhelmed, school's done for the day. You know, get outside as much as possible. Do as much outside as you possibly can. And really, I know parents are stressed out too, but as much time as you can take just to be a family and enjoy each other, I think that's way more important than any academic thing that's going on right now.
Yeah. And we've talked about this. This is one of the benefits of this is I usually work like, and you know this, we've worked together, you know, I helped you sell your house and buy a house. I work probably 18 hours a day. So like being home and winning at checkers against my 5-year-old has been, you know, those moments have, you know, other than like I have touches of madness and like cabin fever, but like those moments are, you know, a huge blessing. Hang out with my 2 kids and like spend more time, and we're bonding. But like one of the things that my daughter is taking advantage of, and tell me if your kids are doing this too, is like she's using some technology to like connect, like the Facebook kid thing she's on, and like she's sending me videos, she's sending her friends videos and pictures and stuff like that, and it's really like she's really connecting with some, you know, some people out in the outside world through that. So are your kids using like FaceTime with family and other people?
Yes, and they're on the app as well, and they're messaging with their friends, and you know, just trying to have a little bit of normalcy. And I'm taking as many pictures of all of the fun things that we're doing as possible, so that when this does all pass years from now, and the kids are like, "What did we do? That wasn't fun," and I could be like, "Oh no, yes, it was.
I have evidence.
Yeah, fun."
Where do you think this is going to leave kids, as far as like, hey, come on in? Where, Daniela?
Yeah.
How are you enjoying this pandemic?
I'm reading a lot.
Okay.
We go outside. We either draw with chalk or I ride on my skateboard.
Okay. And what do you miss the most?
Hanging out with my friends.
What's been the best part of this whole thing?
I don't know. Probably staying home from school.
Is it staying home from school, or is it being with your family? Is it being away from school or being with family?
With family. Okay.
Who's the best checkers player in the house?
Me.
Really? Mm-hmm. All right. So you and I are going to play very soon. Okay. Because I'm the checkers champion in my house.
I'm probably the best.
Okay. We can play online, by the way. If you want to test this.
What?
So you can play online with them if you want to test that. Okay.
Okay. Good talk.
Okay. Is there anything I can listen to?
Sweetheart, go outside.
All right. Pandemic parenting.
Yes.
Live.
You didn't get the memo.
So like mental health has been.
I think that's more important right now. That's most important right now.
Yeah, and just finding ways to cope. I spoke to a trauma specialist on here, and like that routines was like one of the things that she felt was really important when it came to all that.
Yeah, absolutely, and like just little things like you don't think of. You know, today it was crummy out, so like pajama day all day, great, but it's hard not to do pajama day all day every single day.
Right.
pajama day all day, every single day, you know? So just even little things like that, try to keep it as normal as possible for them. Just really hard. And like I said, I know a lot of parents are very stressed out right now, and that's not something I have felt. So I've been able to focus on fun. And
Right.
But
does the school provide anything for like talking or stress or like psychiatry or anything like that when it comes to stressed out parents or kids or anything?
Yes, the guidance counselors are all available. The administration's all available to speak to the parents, and then they can direct the parents in whatever direction they need to go.
Are they there to help the kids and the kids or the parents? Like, because I'm sure the parents to help the kids could use a little.
Exactly. And I know the guidance counselors I work with would be more than happy to have a conversation with a stressed out parent and give them the advice of where they should go for the help that, you know, because the guidance counselors are obviously, they specialize in teenagers.
Right.
Absolutely point them in the right direction.
Cool.
Yes.
All right. Well, is there anything I'm missing? Anything the world should know about this topic that we've missed?
No, I think we're all just trying to do the best we can do.
Yeah.
You know, just be patient with the teachers. This is new to all of us.
Tell me about your teachers. Like, have you had any critiques or any feelings about the like, because now you're a professional looking at other professionals sending, giving you work or whatever. Like, what is that like as a professional seeing another professional sending your kids stuff?
I always look at what the kids have, so especially like as Daniela gets older, like, well, what's your English teacher doing? Because I'm looking for like good ideas that I haven't, come across. We've all been given the guideline, 2 hours of work a week per class so English should be 2 hours a week, math should be 2 hours a week, and kind of give it however you want to, if it's all on Monday and they have the week to do it or whatever. I think people are still finding their groove. More doesn't mean better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
there's some commentary there. Okay.
Yeah. That's something, and I know, like I said, I'm not a stressed out parent, so I can only imagine how the stressed out parents feel. Like, why do you have 5 hours of blah 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 homework? So it's been interesting to see who assigns what, and you can see as everybody gets more comfortable. Connectquot's a week behind us. Like I said, we started right out of the gate. They had the week off, so as everybody's adjusting, you can see that things are changing and they're realizing what might be better, work better, and it's all a work in progress that we hopefully never have to use again. I
hope so too.
Yeah.
All right, Joanne, I appreciate you doing this for me.
I appreciate you having me. Thanks, Peter.
All right. I'll see you soon.
Sounds great. Take care.
Right. Bye.
Bye.